Welcome, business owning moms, to my coveted maternity leave planning roadmap. Hey, what's up? And welcome back to the Growing Pains podcast. Now, I'm sure you've probably had one or maybe a dozen of these types of weeks where you just fall to pieces by the end of the week. I know I feel this from time to time where I'm like, wow, why did that feel so overwhelming to me? Why did it feel like some of the things that I do all the time just felt like they needed extra attention or extra energy or any of those things? It might be that you or your business is outgrowing the current state of things. So, this episode, I am going to focus on the perfect week. This is episode number 9 of our maternity leave roadmap takeover of the podcast. And I'm so excited to bring this strategy to you because it has helped me avoid so many challenges inside of my business and my personal life. So, the concept behind the perfect week comes from a coach of mine that I used to work with years ago. His name's Dan Martell. We've done so many different things together. He's been a client of mine, and I've helped him with his operations. And one of the biggest things that he teaches is about how to balance time and energy. And it's a really, really important thing to know. So, if you haven't read, he has an incredible book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. It's amazing, absolutely incredible. And I highly, highly recommend it for anybody who is going through changes and shifts inside of the business where we really want to make sure that our time is utilized as in the best possible way that it can be. So the perfect week concept is basically laying out your week and then blocking some specific strategic time to take a look at what you're doing and what you are handling. So what is on your plate and whether or not it is moving the business forward or it's not. So I call those drivers in the business. We've talked about this several times on the podcast, in my coaching at Operations Agency, and my coaching at Master Maternity Leave. It has been one of the biggest things. And we need to really understand is this a driver or is it not? And so drivers to me are really in the business and they're also in my personal life. So is this driving me closer to the type of person that I would like to be, right? If I don't have any time on my calendar blocked for workouts, but I identify as a person who cares about health a lot, then that doesn't necessarily line up, right? I have a kind of dissonance between the way that I spend my time and what I say is important to me. And so I actually really believe that being a person of your word is easier than ever before. And all you have to do is just block the time to do it. So the perfect week, you take a look at your calendar. I use iCal. It's on all my things. So on my MacBook and it's on my phone. And I take a look at where I spent my time for the week, especially during those weeks where you, again, fall to pieces at the end of the week and you're like, oh my gosh, why was this so hard for me? And sometimes what I'll do is I'll see that I made sacrifices. So maybe I didn't work out. Maybe I skipped lunch. Those types of things end up compounding. If I worked in the evenings or the very, very early mornings and sacrificed on some of my sleep, I can see where the business really encroached on my life. I can also see during the day what I prioritized in terms of heads down work, or if I prioritized meetings and what kind of meetings I prioritized. So you can start to see that some of this adds up. And if you don't have this down in black and white, you could fall to pieces at the end of the week and start to spiral and think to yourself, well, this business isn't what I thought, or, I am not getting enough sleep, or, whatever that looks like for us. We can start to make assumptions about the way that we're spending our time without actually looking at the real data, because it's so important to actually have there in black and white for you that you can take a look and start to make some decisions. So this is a muscle, by the way. First and foremost, I've been doing this now for 6 years, 7 years. Long time. I do it every quarter at the very least, or if I have a really crappy week, if I'm like, ooh, okay, this one really took the best. What did I do that I don't need to be doing anymore? So what you'll do is take a look at things and you'll say, okay, I did this. So let's just say team meetings. Is this a driver in the business? I would argue, yes, it is a driver in the business. The question then becomes, okay, how were those team meetings handled, right? Did we have enough time? Did we feel like we were just kind of bombarded with challenges or questions or any of those things? Or were they light? Did we share wins? Did we, really, look at our data and see where we could kind of pivot? And so I often think too, there's kind of two things you could look at. Do I need to be doing this? A, is this a driver in the business? If it's not, just get it off there or send it over to somebody else and be like, hey, I used to do this thing. Now I'm not going to do this anymore. Things that are drivers in the business, team, your revenue, generation and being the CRO of your business, those types of revenue generating activities and supporting the team that you have behind you are usually always going to stay in that place. Oftentimes, what I see too is a lot of time early in the business, you've got lots of coffee chats or connection time or things like that with people either in your industry or who are potential partners of yours, those types of things. We really need to start to look at how that time is spent too. I find that that habit is kept for a while inside of the business. And so if somebody's asking me to pick my brain, it's most often going to be a no, especially during challenging heads down seasons inside of the business. So, really thinking through what's on your calendar and what purpose it serves. Now, the other thing I will say is, of course, we've got our weekly cadence, we've got our monthly cadence. All of us are female entrepreneurs, right? We are in a cadence of, our hormone cycles and all of those things. You may feel like if you're putting a bunch of podcast episodes, inside of your luteal phase, you might be like, "Oh, okay, I don't know if I want to do that." But in another week setting, I could totally do a bunch of podcasts in 1 week. So think through the monthly cycle of your general energy flow. I really do think that that's important. I have a fertility friendly CEO calendar. If you go to Instagram at Master Maternity Leave and DM me fertility, I'll send you over that. And it doesn't have to be if you're trying to conceive. You can be in a position where you are, really in tune with your rhythm and how that works for your calendar. I think it's so important to nail down, especially postpartum. It's such an important time to understand what your natural rhythms are and really get into that from a productivity perspective and really like lengthen that timeline. When I say perfect week, I think about like, what does a perfect month look like for you? And just broaden that time horizon. The final thing I'll say is that most entrepreneurs I work with that are facing like intense burnout or their business is just like hitting that glass ceiling that they don't really know what to do. It's because they don't know what season of business they are in and they've tried to force summer for too long. So, like that high growth, motivated, let's move mountains type of season that you need in the very beginning of starting a business, but then that actually doesn't serve in year 2 or 3 because you've just been going at it for way too long. So, understanding what season of business you are in. Are you in a summer where it really makes sense to put a bunch of stuff on your calendar? Maybe you open up a little bit more time for doing, for action taking, all those things. Or are you in a fall or a winter? Are you opening more time up for, strategy and like blank space on the calendar to just think and receive and strategize? That's really important also to know because if you stay in one season for too long, you could feel like your week isn't supporting you. But if you're in a position where you shorten it, where you're like, hey, listen, I've been strategizing for enough time, I'm ready to start doing. If you don't let the season play out, then you could be in a situation where you're overwhelming yourself and overwhelming the business. So if this is something that you are excited about, I would love to hear from you. So DM me, get the calendar template and how to do some rules of engagement around that. Honestly, it's changed the way that I work. If you'd have told me years ago that I was a person who based my activities on when I am in my cycle, I would have laughed you out of the room, like full on, but it's honestly changed the game for me. So go ahead and get that. I'd love to hear what resonates with you as you're kind of planning through this and just block some time to sit down, take a look at your calendar, see where you fall in the seasonality of your business and of your life. Of course, if you're listening to this, you're probably about to enter into a winter phase, right? Where you're really just sitting, where you're reflecting, where you're able to kind of press pause from the business, which is so common during maternity leave. So thank you so much again for being here. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.